Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Robert has been such a cornerstone for so many of us longtime viewers. He's the steady hand, the one who always showed up when the town needed protecting, and hearing that his passing is now official hit me harder than I expected. I remember how he and Anna used to circle each other for years, that push and pull that kept us guessing, and now, with him gone, it opens the door to so much unresolved feeling. The funeral is set to happen soon. And at first I wondered if it might play out quietly off screen the way some of these things do when schedules get tricky. But no, the latest word is that it's going to be right there in front of us, and what's coming along with it is the kind of explosive moment that makes you lean forward in your seat and forget you're supposed to be folding laundry. Because right in the middle of that gathering to say goodbye to Robert, Cullum is going to be assassinated. And the person who does it? Anna herself. That revelation stopped me cold when I first heard it. For weeks, the rumors had been swirling that Anna had been locked away, drugged by Cullum's orders, forced to feed Robin false reports just to keep her daughter from worrying. I pictured poor Robin walking into that room, hoping to reconnect with her mother, only to be met with lies that Cullum had manufactured. It felt cruel, the kind of calculated evil that WSB directors like Cullum have always specialized in. Mac was supposedly ready to step in and have Anna committed to Ferncliff here in Port Charles sometime in June. Or maybe even Willow would be the one to make that painful call. But Anna, being Anna, she finds a way back. She slips those restraints, she pushes through the fog of whatever they gave her, and she returns to Port Charles at the exact moment when the town is mourning Robert. And instead of standing quietly at the graveside, she acts. She confronts Cullum right there among the flowers and the black suits, and in one swift, decisive move, she ends him. I know some folks might say this feels out of character for Anna. After all, she spent decades walking that fine line between law and justice, choosing to protect rather than destroy. But I've been watching her long enough to see the fire that still burns underneath. Remember how she handled things back when Faison was still terrorizing everyone? She never backed down, and this time, with Robert gone and Cullum's manipulations still fresh in her mind, it makes perfect sense to me that she would cross that line. It's not cold-blooded revenge. It's the breaking point of a woman who has been pushed too far, who has watched too many people she loves get hurt by the same shadowy forces. And the beauty of it is how it ties everything together, the grief for Robert, the danger still lurking from Cullum's WSB schemes, and Anna's own fight to reclaim her life. One moment of violence at the funeral, and suddenly the whole town is reeling again. That's the kind of storytelling that keeps General Hospital feeling alive and urgent even after all these decades. Of course, the ripples from that single act are going to spread far and wide. We already know Britt and Jason aren't going to stay together the way some of us hope they might. I've grown fond of seeing Britt find a little happiness after everything she's been through with her health. But life on the show rarely lets anyone settle for long. Instead, the writers seem to be steering Jocelyn and Cassius closer, and I have to admit there's something intriguing about that pairing. Cassius had that brief, stormy time with Lulu, full of fireworks and misunderstandings. Yet the word is that fans are warming up to the idea of him standing beside Jocelyn more than anyone expected. It feels fresh, like a new chapter for both of them, and I'm curious to see how it plays out without stepping on old wounds. Then there's the quiet sadness of Scout possibly being aged up Soras, they call it, so she can join the teenage crowd. It happens so often on these shows, and while part of me misses the little girl she used to be, I understand why they do it. The canvas needs new energy, new faces to carry the next generation of stories. Ethan is rumored to be leaving this summer as well, and that one stings a bit, because his connection to the Spencer family has always added such a nice layer of complication. But change is part of what keeps us coming back. It mirrors life itself, doesn't it? People move on, new ones arrive, and the town keeps turning. Speaking of new arrivals, I'm thrilled about the casting hints we're getting. 2 young actors are supposed to become regulars, and one might be linked to that organ transplant patient Derek we've heard about. Plus, there are 2 new contract roles coming this summer, and at least one of them sounds like it will weave straight into Britt's orbit, maybe something to do with her Huntington's medication and the danger that Cullum's death could stir up around it. That thread feels especially personal to me. I've watched too many characters battle illness over the years, and the way the show handles those real-life struggles always touches my heart. Then we have Martin possibly returning, and if he does, I can already picture him stepping in as Curtis's lawyer again. That would be a welcome sight, Michael E. Knight brings such grounded warmth to the role. And the rumor that Stephen A. Smith might show up looking for Rocco? Well, that just adds another layer of excitement I never saw coming. Even the villain side of things is heating up in the best way. Delilah's story is continuing with a new antagonist in the mix. And after seeing Maxwell Caulfield as Apollo the art dealer who got questioned by Ava and Alexis in New York, I'm eager to see how that web tightens. These characters have so many overlapping histories, and when you throw a fresh threat into the mix, it keeps the tension simmering without ever feeling forced. What I love most about all of this is how it builds on what came before while still surprising us. The original plan might have pointed towards Sidwell being the one to take Cullum out, but having Anna deliver that final blow at Robert's funeral changes everything. It gives her agency back in a powerful way, and it turns a moment of mourning into one of high-stakes drama that will have the whole town talking for months. I can already imagine the hushed conversations at the Metro Court, the worried glances between friends, and the slow realization that Anna's actions might bring even more trouble down on everyone she cares about. That's the magic of General Hospital. It never lets the story sit still. Just when you think you know where things are headed, a new explosion of emotion and consequence arrives to remind you why you fell in love with this town in the first place. I find myself checking the clock every afternoon now, wondering what will happen next. Will Robin understand what her mother has done? How will Mac react when he learns Anna chose justice her own way instead of letting the system handle Cullum? And what about Britt? Will the fallout from Cullum's death somehow threaten the treatment she's been relying on? These questions keep swirling in my mind, and that's exactly why I'm still here after all this time. The show feels vibrant, urgent, and full of heart, the same way it did when I was younger and had fewer gray hairs. It reminds me that even in our later years, there's still room for passion, for loyalty to old friends on screen, and for the thrill of not knowing what tomorrow will bring. What really has me on the edge of my seat is Anna. She's back in Port Charles right in time for Robert's funeral, and instead of standing silently in mourning, she steps forward with the kind of courage that makes you cheer for her, even when the path she chooses is complicated. Right there, amid the flowers and the tears, Anna doesn't just grieve, she announces every single one of Cullum's crimes to the gathered crowd. She lays it all out clearly. The drugging, the forced lies to Robin, the manipulations that nearly broke her spirit and threatened the safety of so many others. Her voice, steady but full of fire, turns that funeral into something far bigger than a farewell. It becomes a reckoning. And in that moment, when she reveals the full extent of Cullum's betrayal, everything clicks into place. Her decision to end his life right there at the graveside suddenly feels not only understandable, but completely undeniable. No one watching could argue against it. Cullum wasn't just a villain pulling strings from behind the scenes. He was a direct threat who had already stolen too much from the people we love. Anna's public confession makes her action feel like the only reasonable choice left, the kind of justice that Port Charles sometimes has to deliver when the system fails. I've seen Anna walk the line between right and wrong for decades, and this time she crossed it for all the right reasons. It proves she's still the fierce protector we've always admired, only now she's protecting the town's future by removing the danger once and for all. But here's where the story gets even hotter. Robert's death isn't just closing one chapter, it's opening a floodgate of fresh trouble that's sending Port Charles spinning into a crisis we haven't seen in years. The town is reeling, friendships are straining under the weight of suspicion, and old alliances are being tested in ways that feel raw and real. With Cullum gone and Anna's bold move now out in the open, the WSB's influence is fracturing, and that power vacuum is pulling in new dangers we didn't expect. I keep asking myself, how will Mac handle this? Will he stand by Anna? Or will the badge he wears force him to see things differently? The answer comes quick. The show is already hinting that his loyalty to family will win out, but not without some painful conversations that will tug at your heart. And poor Robin, learning the truth about her mother's ordeal while mourning her father, it's the kind of layered emotion that makes you reach for the tissues yet still leaves you eager for the next scene. This crisis is already causing one of those explosive adjustments the writers do so well. Brit's story, for instance, is heating up in a way that feels personal and urgent. Cullum's death might have been meant to tidy things up, but instead it's stirring up threats around her Huntington's treatment, as if the shadows he left behind refuse to fade quietly. I've watched Brit fight so hard for a second chance at happiness, and now this new layer of danger keeps me wondering if she'll come through stronger, or if it will test her bonds with Jason even more. Speaking of which, the shift away from Brit and Jason feels right for the moment it clears space for Jocelyn and Cassius to explore something fresh. And I'm finding myself surprisingly invested in how that pairing might bring new energy to the younger crowd. Even the smaller threads are tying back into this bigger storm. Scout being aged up to join the teens, Ethan possibly leaving, the new young actors joining the canvas, it all feels connected to the way Robert's passing is forcing the town to evolve. Port Charles isn't the same safe harbor it once was, and that tension is exactly what keeps me tuning in every day. The grief is real, the crisis is gripping, but so is the hope that Anna's stand will lead to something better. I can already picture the hushed talks at the Metro Court, the quiet support from friends like Ava and Alexis, and the slow rebuilding that always follows these storms.